Welcome to a writing lecture with Professor Dennis. This time, we're going to explore descriptive writing and dialogue. There's a sample piece attached to this segment that you will need to read. As I only believe it fair that we be on equal ground when it comes to writing, I've decided to use one of my published pieces to show you how dialogue works, as well as some of the other descriptive elements we're going to explore. After all, if I expect you to share your writing with me, then I should feel comfortable sharing my writing with you. Rect is a braided essay. As such, you will notice odd bits of style, like italics when I jump from one scene to the next. This is a professional level piece that jumps between two different time periods or scenes. As such, I do not want you to try to copy my style. This is only to show you the various modes of descriptive writing and dialogue. Again, jumping between two different scenes at this stage in your writing is kind of a no-no, so please don't try it. Keep your writing in a chronological order until you've mastered this form of writing and are ready for something a bit more challenging. In truth, it took me a couple of months to master the braided essay. For this lecture, we're going to look at writing tools you can use to both enhance your personal narrative and help you avoid the bland telling style of writing. Similes, metaphors, and dialogue are the most common ways writers are able to create pieces that show your reader a vivid picture. This is in addition to sensory details, which allow you to immerse your reader in your piece. The most common writing tools used in a personal narrative are usually similes and metaphors. While there are a plethora of writing tools you could use to enhance your descriptive language, these are the two that we will specifically be covering in this beginner levels course. Both the simile and the metaphor are direct comparisons. The simile is a direct comparison that uses the words like or as, while the metaphor is a direct comparison that usually uses is or was. I have for you here 3 samples each for the simile and the metaphor. You'll notice that in each of the similes, the comparison is made by saying that something is like something else, or that something is as blank as something else. For example, the sun was like a furnace. The metaphor, on the other hand, uses a direct comparison as well, but they take out the words like and as. For example, instead of saying, my phone is as old as a dinosaur, the metaphor would be, my phone is a dinosaur. The one you use will really depend on the tone you want to set for your piece and for that particular segment of your piece. Reviewing the braided essay Rect, I want you to consider the following questions. Find first a simile or a metaphor. When you find them, ask yourself how the simile or metaphor enhanced the writing. What did it do for you as a reader? And how can you use these techniques to enhance your own writing? You'll find attached some resources to help you further explore these concepts. They will include various images and a few websites for further explanation if needed. Sensory details are details that tap into your reader's senses. These can include sight, sound, taste, smell, and touch. When you're better able to capture the senses in your writing, you're better able to immerse your reader into the world that you've created. The purpose of sensory details is to show instead of tell. To show that the book fell on the floor. You want more than the book fell on the floor. How did it fall on the floor? Did it slip out of her hands and tumble to the floor where it sprawled open? Or did the minor earthquake shake the book off the table, causing it to slip onto the floor with a thump? When you show your reader with sensory details, you're using a form of active writing, which helps to connect you better to your reader. These are the key factors of a well-written narrative. Go back to that sample piece provided and see if you can find at least one example of each of the different senses in the writing. Which one was your favorite and why? What did that segment do for you as a reader? And how can you use this technique in your own writing? The last piece I would like to cover today is the use of dialogue in story. There are usually three main reasons to include dialogue in your personal narrative. Dialogue is primarily used to show characterization, to push the story forward, or to complicate the conflict further. While there are more reasons than this for dialogue to be used, these are really the ones we want to focus on for a beginner writer's course. Characterization is one of the most essential reasons to have dialogue. When a character speaks, you as an audience member can learn a lot about them. You can learn about what country, region, or culture they might be from based on the accent or language and terms they use. You can learn whether or not this character is one you will like based on their verbal interactions with other characters. You can even hear their mental state based on their tone when they speak. I'm not referring to how loud or soft or happy or angry they physically sound. I'm referring to their word choice. Think about a movie or TV show you've watched where the character might have sounded happy or sad or angry, but the words they used obviously said otherwise. That is the power of dialogue for your piece as well. For pushing the story forward, think of a TV show or movie where there was a lull in action. This downtime, so to speak, is where the screenwriters usually put in key pieces of information presented as dialogue between characters. It helped you as a viewer to understand the storyline better, and it served to push the story into the next scene or the next piece of action. Our last point connects to pushing the story forward. In addition to moving things along, dialogue can serve to further complicate the conflict. Think of a TV show or movie where the plan was formed and then someone said something that completely destroyed the plan based on circumstances or new information. Dialogue can do that for your story as well. Maybe there was a twist that happened and you want to display that to your reader. You could tell them that there was the twist, or you could show them through the use of dialogue. The biggest things to remember when implementing dialogue is to have a new paragraph each time you change who the speaker is. This helps your reader to visually see that someone new is speaking. Have quotation marks around the external dialogue that is spoken out loud. For internal dialogue, or the thoughts that the character speaks in his or her own head, you would have italics. Finally, to note who is speaking, you would have either a tagline, which is a he said, she said style, or you can have a character performing an action alongside their dialogue. This not only shows who is speaking, but it makes the writing more engaging than he said, she asked, he yelled, she whispered. Go ahead and go back to our sample piece. Note the dialogue in the piece and how it's offset. What does this do for you as a reader? And how can you use this technique in your own writing? And some final tips and suggestions for you as you embark on this paper. Look at the due dates for each of the final papers. Schedule to meet with the Writing Center sometime between the paper workshops and the final due date. Take the following to each of your scheduled appointments: all peered reviews for the paper, your most recent draft of the paper, a description of the paper assignment, the paper parameters as explained in class, and the correct paper rubric. Scheduling ASAP for each paper will help to ensure that you have that time frame available, as they can book up rather quickly. I've seen some campuses that book up as far as 3 weeks out. As always, if you have any questions, comments, or concerns, please do not hesitate to reach out to your professor using that email icon in your learning management system. Thanks so much, and I'll catch you on the flip side.